Hi everybody, welcome to my garden today. I'm Karen. I want to talk to you about some gardening ideas and some things to enjoy about gardening. What we're going to do is we're going to go around the garden and look at plants and see what needs to be done. But first, let's enjoy some things. First, I'm showing you my Sumigaki Japanese maple. Sumigaki means spilled ink. Isn't that a beautiful leaf? So gorgeous. This color will actually kind of be a little more subdued as the sun comes out this summer, and it'll fade a little bit, but it's so beautiful in the spring. Now I want to show you another shrub. I'm going to show you lilac because we're going to talk about pruning. Right now is the time to prune things that have already flowered. For example, your forsythia, your viburnums, your lilacs, because what's happening, and here we come upon my lilac, so you can see it's already bloomed, and actually look, it's already getting to form its buds for next year. See right there, that's the bud. They're forming buds for next year, so we don't want to prune too much. We don't want to remove too much of the buds for next year, so we're going to prune what needs to be done. I'm going to prune off all the dead heads, and then any shaping you might want to do with that. I'm not going to do any pruning right now, but I just wanted to point out to you that you don't want to prune so late in the year. Okay, now we're going to go look at a few other plants in the front. I want to show you a very beautiful, they consider it a small tree. It's really more of a medium-sized tree. It's the red buckeye. This is Aesculus pavia, and it kind of gets a form where it kind of does a lot of V'ing. There's the beautiful bloom of that. Look at that. That's so pretty. There's another cultivar of red buckeye called Bryati, which is just a beautiful pink color. Look over here at this. Isn't this gorgeous? Okay, now we're looking over to my garden, and I want to show you what's happening here. So my garden is really in transition right now. I had a beautiful bloom this spring. We had a beautiful display of tulips, but now the tulips are starting to die down. So they bloomed probably the very end of March, April. Today, by the way, is May 18th. So we see all these stems on here, but as I pull on the stem, it's really not ready to come out. These stems are still photosynthesizing carbohydrates for the bulb to grow and produce a nice bloom next year. So you really don't want to pull the leaves off too soon. I know you want to just use a little bit of willpower, just wait a little bit longer, but you do want to consider fertilizing. You want to fertilize your bulbs right now to kind of help them increase their growth for next year, and so they will stay and have another good rebloom for you. I do that every year. I try to fertilize all my blooms. Also, you want to leave the foliage on the daffodils. Again, it's not very pretty, but look how green this is. This is how the bulb regenerates for next year. You must leave the foliage on. Some people will tie them up. You can get them up and tie them, or what I like to do in a little bit is cut them about halfway so they're not so straggly once they start to turn a little yellow. I'll probably pull these tulip foliage stems off and probably within a week. All right, I want to show you, so this garden is pretty messy right now because it is in transition. The other thing that we did with all of our tulip bulbs was we removed the seed head of the tulip bulb. This one I didn't remove because I just forgot actually, but inside here is a bunch of seeds. Anyway, there's seeds in here, and if you leave that on, the plant is spending a lot of energy in creating seeds rather than letting the bulb develop. So cut your bulb, your flower heads off right after they bloom. All right, here's an iris. It's getting ready to bloom. This is called Beverly Sills. It's a beautiful pink one. You can just about see the color on this. That's a gorgeous color of pink right there. It's real pretty. But this one is not really getting as much sun as it needs. So I'm probably going to divide some of this. You can divide some of this by taking a piece of plant. You can kind of tell where, kind of look down here, you can see the corms and the soil. You kind of divide off a piece and get this into a sunnier area. All right, let's go. I want to go and show you a little bit about some, oh, one more thing my husband's pointing out. Something not to do. Please do not do this. Do not create a volcano around the base of your tree. Look how deep this is. You see this a lot of places in these apartment complexes and places. That's the worst thing you can do for your tree. You're really smothering your roots. Please don't do that. If you need to mulch a little bit around the base because you don't want to mow it, then put a little bit. But, you know, even as a child, we knew that we're not supposed to mulch that high. Children know where you draw the tree trunk and it has a collar coming out. That's the way the natural growth is supposed to be. So that's with mulching, and now we'll show you the proper way to mulch. I have a bed here where I did some replanting. In fact, I divided this. This is called blue mouse ears, Hosta. I divided it the other day, and I'm going to get some mulch, some shredded bark mulch. I'm going to put it around the base of the plant. I'm sprinkling it just a little bit, not too much. Okay, so this is probably, you know, about that much of my finger, maybe an inch. And this whole bed should just have an inch. First, I want to get all these little weeds out, all those little oxalis out. And you don't want to just cover up weeds. Just take a couple minutes and scrape off those weeds and then cover it with mulch. Again, 1 to 2 inches on mulch. That's plenty. Don't make any mulch volcanoes. All right. Going back here. So when we're in the garden and we are enjoying our garden, we're creating a space for ourselves. We're loving the atmosphere that we're creating. Different kinds of plants, different textures. I'm just going to show you some plants along here. This is the side of my garden. Whoops. There's some Brunera just about ready to go. The bloom is almost past Brunera. That's Siberian bug loss. Here's another nice planting here with the Tiarella. Really pretty. So this bug loss, it's about ready to divide. As soon as this flower gets finished on there, you can divide that plant. We're going to talk about plant dividing in just a minute. So let's wander around to the back. Again, we're thinking about the garden. We're enjoying looking at things in the garden. Look at that nice new growth. We're enjoying everything about the garden, the smells, the birds. It's our sanctuary, right? So as we're going around looking at things, I've already trellised my clematis. It's coming up, it's growing. I almost maybe need to get a higher trellis. This thing is going crazy. We've planted some annuals already. We have some geraniums in the ground. They were lucky. They didn't get frosted, but we did have frost damage on some plants. This isn't a stilby. You can see the frost damage on the foliage here, on some of the leaves. It won't kill the plant. It's a little unsightly. You know, that's life. It'll be okay. But you know what? I did jump the gun and I planted this little basil plant, and look what happened. This really got frosted. So that's too bad. I'm sorry that I lost that. I'll have to do that again. So as we look in the garden, so this is a perennial garden that I have here, and one of the plants that I like in this garden is a Veronica. It gets a nice purple spike flower, but this Veronica, every year I get the four-lined bug, which comes in and does damage on the plant. This is what the damage looks like here. You see that stippling in the leaf? That's what they do. The little larvae, they're red, the red and black, they get in there and they suck. They suck out the juices and the chlorophyll, and so the leaf gets a little bit deformed. What I do is I try to come out and find them, and I try to squish them before they multiply too much. The four-line bug is inactive after June, but this is the prime time. It's a little tiny red and black, bigger than a pinhead, little tiny insect that loves to be in the apex, the very soft, most tender part of the plant, and then it changes into the larva kind of metamorphoses into a beetle-like. It looks kind of like a lightning bug. It's called four-line because it's yellow and black with yellow with 4 stripes on it. Okay, so these plants, I've already done some dividing. We're going to look at some dividing. That's another thing that you want to do right now. We talked earlier about Lenten rose. This is a white Lenten rose. We actually took a piece off of this just yesterday. This is a beautiful, it's getting ready, it's forming its fruits now. But you can find sections in a plant where you can divide off. This is a purple Lenten rose. It's kind of a deep purple, and this actually has grown a little plantlet, a separate plantlet that shoots off. Here's the old flowers of look how pretty those flowers were, that sort of lavender color, the purple Lenten rose. Again, these Lenten rose are deer resistant. Deer do not eat these. So walking back, again, it's time to divide things that's already flowered. So that would be like the Lenten rose. You can do hostas at any time. I've got some little crested iris down here. They're very dwarf. They've already bloomed. They're just a little miniature kind of plant. I really think they're so cute. They come in white and a lavender, and I believe there's a yellow flower also. They're really nice for bordering and putting in a space where you just want a short little iris. Other plants you can divide right now, of course, would be Hosta. You just open it up and look inside, and you can try to see where there's a natural division in there. Can you see how that would be a natural division? You would just slide your shovel right down in there. You could divide this plant effectively into like 4 plants if you wanted to. I've got another plant back here that I'm going to divide. It's a primrose. The primroses are just about finished blooming. So come on back this way. Look at this little full moon. This is a full moon Japanese maple. Isn't that pretty? And then behind it we have the azalea. It's starting to recede in its bloom. And then over here we have the autumn moon Japanese maple, which we did get a little bit of frost on this. See, unfortunately we got a little frost, but it's okay. It's got a little tiny bit of a peachy color to the foliage, as well as some brown dead. Anyway, coming around this way, oh, here's some frost damage on Hosta. That's what this is. You can, you could cut that off or just leave it on. It's minor. Coming around this way, we have primrose. These are just about ready to be finished. And so I want to divide this up. Again, it's starting to finish its bloom. This is the time that you want to divide. So I've actually already cut that other half in there. And then you just cut in and you lift it out. And I'm going to put this in a bucket because I'm going to give this to my daughter. But then you want to remember to put some soil back in here And since both of these plants have kind of been shocked, like actually when you do this, it's a little bit of a shock. So I will actually water those roots that have had a little bit of exposure just to kind of protect them a little bit. So let's see, oh, viburnums are fruiting. Here's a really nice viburnum back here it's already flowered. So again, if you wanted to prune, this would be the time to prune this. I'm going to walk over here. You can see these are the flower heads. It's done. If you wanted to cut this back, but the natural shape of this plant is sort of vase shaped, although this one is really growing over to the right because our light source is up that way, that our sun comes from that direction. But one of the things that you could prune in this plant, let me step in front of you, is this large stem right here. If I wanted to prune this stem out to kind of thin out this tree, I could do that. Anytime you do any real heavy pruning on a plant like a shrub, lilacs, oak leaf hydrangeas, you don't want to remove any more than 1/3 of the growth. If you do any more than that, you're really stressing the plant. All right, well, I think that's about all we're going to talk about for today. I'm really glad that you came to visit my garden, and I hope that you're enjoying spring and enjoying the beauty of spring, the beauty of the garden, and you know, really having the attitude of gardening as a journey. It's an adventure to really have fun and grow things. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to get the wrong plant. Right there you're looking at a minaret taxodium. It's a bald cypress, yeah. Bald cypress, taxodium. All right. All right, well, thanks for coming and visiting my garden. Happy gardening. Remember, it's a journey, it's an adventure. Have fun. All right, thank you.